Ladies and gentlemen, daughters of destiny, let me remind you today, a woman's true power is not found in her looks, her bank account, her connections, or her relationships. It begins with God. The world will tell you that you are powerful when you can control others, when you can dominate a room. You can turn heads and stop traffic. But let me tell you the truth, real power, sustaining power, eternal power, flows only from the one who created you. You see, before there was a title in front of your name, before there was a ring on your finger, before there was a child in your arms, before there was applause from the crowd, there was God. He formed you, He breathed life into you, and He placed a seed of greatness within you. And until you connect to Him, you will always search for validation in places that cannot satisfy your soul. A woman who begins with God walks differently. She doesn't bow to the opinions of people. She doesn't crumble under the pressure of comparison. She doesn't lose herself chasing after things that fade. No, she stands rooted, unshaken, because she knows who she belongs to. When a woman begins with God, storms don't break her, they reveal her strength. Trail doesn't destroy her, it builds her wisdom. Delay doesn't discourage her, it deepens her trust. Because her power isn't in the temporary, it's anchored in the eternal. When a woman starts with God, she doesn't have to chase power. Power chases her. Influence follows her, purpose finds her, favor surrounds her, because the God in her makes her radiant, makes her unstoppable, makes her unshakable. You can dress a woman in designer labels, but without God, she can still be empty. You can surround her with admirers, but without God, she can still feel alone. You can give her money, beauty, talent, and status, but until she returns to the source, her true power will remain untapped. My power is not in man's approval. My power is not in worldly success. My power begins with God. For when you begin with Him, you will end with victory. When you begin with Him, you will never run dry. When you begin with Him, you will walk in purpose. You will carry influence. You will impact generations yet unborn. Power is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the world today. From the time we are children, culture around us paints pictures of what power looks like. Power is portrayed as wealth, as influence, as beauty, as popularity, as strength, as control. It is dressed up in fancy clothes. It drives expensive cars. It sits in executive offices. It gathers applause, and it seeks attention. While the world points outward, the truth points inward. True power is not external. It does not come from what you wear, what you own. Who knows your name? True power comes from the inside, anchored in God, rooted in your identity, unshaken by the winds of circumstance. Problem with external power is that it fades. Money can be lost in a day. Status can change overnight. Beauty is fleeting and fame is fickle. If your sense of power is built on those things, you will always live in fear of losing them. You will measure yourself by what others say and what others see. Never realizing that power that depends on outside approval is never real power at all. External power will leave you exhausted, constantly trying to keep up, constantly trying to hold on. But when your power is internal, when it is anchored in God, there is no fear of loss, because what God placed in you cannot be taken away. You see, true power is not about what people see, it is about what they cannot see. It is not about the crown on your head. It is about the peace in your heart. It is not about how many people bow to you, about how deeply you are surrendered to God. It is not about commanding a stage, about carrying a spirit that shifts the atmosphere without even saying a word. True power cannot be bought, cannot be stolen, cannot be imitated, because it comes from a divine source that the world does not understand. Think of it this way. A lamp looks beautiful when it is polished on the outside, when it shines in gold or silver. But no matter how beautiful the lamp may be, it is powerless until it is connected to electricity. The beauty is external, but the power is internal. You can decorate the lamp. You can admire the lamp. You can place it in the finest room, but without the flow of power on the inside, it will never fulfill its purpose. And in the same way, you can decorate your life with success, achievements, and recognition, but without the internal flow of God's power, you will never truly shine. True power is not external, because external power breaks under pressure. People who live for applause collapse when the applause stops. People who live for validation shatter when criticism comes. People who build their power on titles lose their identity when the title is stripped away. But the one whose power is rooted in God, in purpose, in unshakable faith cannot be destroyed by changing circumstances. The storms may come, the winds may blow, the power within remains, and it carries them through. When you understand that true power is internal, you stop chasing what does not last. You stop comparing yourself to others because you realize that what God placed in you is unique. You stop measuring your worth by likes, followers, recognition, because you understand that your strength is not determined by the crowd, but by the Creator. You stop being shaken by rejection because you know that rejection does not reduce your power. It only redirects your purpose. There is a kind of woman, a kind of man who has tapped into this truth. They may not have the loudest voice, but when they speak, people listen. They may not have the biggest platform. Their influence is undeniable. They may not wear the most expensive clothes, but they walk with a dignity that cannot be purchased. Their power is not external, but it radiates from within because they are connected to the source that never runs dry. True power is seen in endurance. When others quit, you keep going. When others crumble, you remain standing. When others lose hope, you still believe. That kind of resilience is not built by external validation. It is forged in the quiet places of the soul when you decide to trust God, when you decide to rise again, when you decide that your faith is stronger than your fear. External power may impress people, but internal power sustains you. External power may get you noticed, but internal power gets you through. This is why some of the most powerful people in history were not the ones with crowns or thrones, but the ones with vision, courage, and conviction. They may not have had armies behind them, but they had truth inside them. They may not have had riches to their name, but they carried integrity that could not be bought. Their power was not in what they wore, not in what they owned, not in who they knew, in the fire within their spirit. And that is the same kind of power available to you. You don't need to chase what the world calls power. You don't need to exhaust yourself trying to measure up to a false standard. The power you need is already inside of you, placed there by God Himself. It's in your ability to love when hate surrounds you. It's in your ability to rise after you've been knocked down. It's in your ability to forgive when others hold grudges. It's in your ability. It's in your ability to keep believing when everything in your life says you should quit. That is power. That is true power, and it is not external. So let me tell you this today. Stop searching outside for what only exists inside. Stop waiting for someone else to crown you, validate you, or promote you. Stop depending on temporary things to give you lasting strength. The treasure is already in you. The power is already in you. And when you recognize that, when you live from that place, nothing can stop you. No storm can drown you. No enemy can defeat you. No circumstance can break you, because your power is not external. Your power comes from within, and it flows from the God who never fails. When you walk in that truth, you no longer live as a slave to appearances. You live as a carrier of divine power. You are no longer tossed by the opinions of people because you are anchored in the opinion of the one who created you. You are no longer chasing shadows because you have tapped into the substance. And you are no longer afraid of losing anything because you know the one who gave it all to you in the first place is the same one who will sustain you. Yes, true power is not external. It is not in the wealth, in the status, not in the applause, not in the beauty. True power is in the soul connected to God, the heart that refuses to quit, faith that stands unshaken, the spirit that knows its worth. And once you walk in that kind of power, the world cannot define you. The world cannot stop you. Before a crown sits on your head, you must know who you are without it. Before a title is given to your name, you must understand your worth without the title. Before you can carry influence in the lives of others, you must first be grounded in your identity. Influence without identity is dangerous, but identity before influence is destiny. Tragedy of our time is that too many are rushing after influence without first discovering who they are. They want followers before they understand purpose. They want platforms before they have foundations. They want to be known by the crowd, but they don't even know themselves. Influence without identity becomes a trap because you spend your life performing for people instead of living in alignment with who God created you to be. Identity is the root. Influence is the fruit. If you try to grow fruit without a root, it will not last. Influence that is not grounded in identity will collapse under pressure. It may shine for a season, but storms will reveal the weakness beneath. When your identity is secure, your influence becomes unshakable because it is not built on applause, opinions, or external measures. It is built on truth. Too many people are chasing stages when they have not yet learned the strength of silence. They are longing for visibility before they have embraced obscurity. They are reaching for positions before they have developed character. Influence is weighty, and if you don't know who you are, the weight will crush you. But when you are rooted in identity, you can carry influence without losing yourself. You can lead without being lost. You can guide others without forgetting who you are. Identity is not what others call you. It is what God has spoken over you. Identity is not tied to your circumstances because circumstances change. Identity is not tied to your mistakes because mistakes can be forgiven. Identity is not tied to your past because your past does not define your future. Identity is anchored in the truth that you are chosen, created, called for a purpose. Until you know that, influence will only confuse you. Think about it. If you don't know who you are, every compliment will inflate you and every criticism will crush you. If you don't know who you are, you will bend yourself to fit the expectations of others, trying to be what they want you to be instead of who you were designed to be. If you don't know who you are, influence will not empower you. It will enslave you. But when you are secure in your identity, influence no longer dictates your worth. Whether you have a crowd of thousands or you stand alone, your value remains the same because you know who you are before God. There is a process to purpose. Part of that process is identity before influence. Before David ever held the crown of Israel, he was a shepherd in the field, tending sheep when no one was watching. His identity as a worshiper, as a man after God's heart, was formed in obscurity. His influence came later, but his identity was established first. Had he sought the throne without first finding his identity in God, the weight of kingship would have destroyed him. But because identity came before influence, he could handle the weight of leadership. This is a principle for all of us. Your private identity must be settled before your public influence grows. Who you are when no one is looking matters more than who you appear to be when everyone is watching. If you skip the stage of identity, you will lose yourself in the spotlight of influence. But if you are rooted in identity, you can shine in influence without compromise because you know that your worth is not tied to your position, it is tied to your purpose. Identity is what sustains you when influence fades. No mistake, seasons change, people's opinions change, crowds change. Today they shout your name, tomorrow they may forget it. Today they celebrate you, tomorrow they may criticize you. If your identity is tied to influence, you will rise and fall with the shifting tides of people's opinions. But when your identity is secure, you are steady no matter what comes. You can celebrate in success and you can endure in obscurity because your value has never changed. Identity before influence also protects you from using influence for the wrong reasons. Without identity, influence becomes about ego. It becomes about being seen, being praised, being important. But when identity comes first, influence becomes about service. It becomes about lifting others, impacting lives, leaving legacy. Influence is not for you, it is for others. But you cannot serve others from a place of emptiness. You must first know who you are, or else your influence will become selfish instead of selfless. That is why some people with great influence still feel empty because they skipped the step of identity. They climbed ladders, gained followers, built platforms, but they never discovered who they truly are. And now the very influence they chased has become the prison they live in. When identity comes before influence, influence does not drain you, it flows through you. You lead not from a place of insecurity, from a place of authenticity. Influence without identity is counterfeit, but influence rooted in identity is unstoppable. When you know who you are, the crowd cannot intimidate you, and the critics cannot silence you. When you know who you are, you no longer live for approval, you live for purpose. When you know who you are, your influence is not about being known, but about making a difference. And that kind of influence changes the world. Let me remind you today, do not rush the process. Do not despise the season of obscurity. Do not resent the hidden years. Those are the seasons where your identity is formed. Those are the places where your character is strengthened. Those are the times when you learn who you are without the applause, without the spotlight, without the influence. And once you know who you are there, no stage, no platform, no influence will ever take it away. My influence will never be greater than my identity. I will not chase the crowd at the expense of my soul. I will not pursue influence before I am rooted in who God made me to be. I will walk in identity before I walk in influence, so that when influence comes, I am ready, steady, and unshaken. Yes, identity before influence. That is the divine order. That is the foundation of unshakable power. And if you will root yourself in your true identity, influence will come in its time, not as a burden that breaks you, as a blessing that flows through you to impact the world. Life will bring trials. That is not a question of if, it is a matter of when. Storms will come, fires will burn, valleys will appear, and challenges will knock at your door. Some people spend their lives running from trials, thinking that if they just plan well enough, work hard enough, or live carefully enough, they can avoid hardship. But no one is exempt from trials. Trials are a universal experience. Separates the strong from the broken is not the absence of trials, but the way we see them. So many people let trials define them. They allow what they've been through to label them, to dictate their worth, and to shape their identity. They carry the pain of rejection and wear it like a name tag. They live in the shadow of failure and call it their future. They take the betrayal, the disappointment, the heartbreak, and they let it become their definition. But I came to tell you today, trials refine you. They do not define you. When gold goes through fire, it is not destroyed. It is purified. When silver is placed in the furnace, it is not diminished. It is made more valuable. The fire does not define the metal. It refines the metal. And in the same way, the trials of your life are not there to reduce you. They are there to reveal you. They are not there to break you. They are there to build you. Trials refine, not define. If you allow trials to define you, you will always see yourself as a victim. You will believe that what happened to you is who you are. You will measure your life by the mistakes you made, pain you endured, or the losses you suffered. But if you understand that trials refine you, then you begin to see pain as a process, not a prison. You begin to see difficulty as development, not destruction. You begin to see storms as preparation, not punishment. Trials refine your character. They show you what you're made of. It's easy to talk about faith when everything is going well, but real faith is revealed in the fire. It's easy to speak about trust when the road is smooth, but true trust is proven when the path is dark. Trials refine you by stripping away what is shallow and strengthening what is real. They burn off fear, pride, insecurity, and doubt until what remains is pure. Unshakable faith. Trials refine your focus. When life is comfortable, it is easy to be distracted, to chase after things that don't really matter. When trials come, you are forced to prioritize. You begin to realize what truly matters and what doesn't. You discover the difference between necessity and excess. Trials refine you by clearing your vision and teaching you how to live with purpose instead of wasting time. Trials refine your endurance. There are some muscles you cannot build without resistance. There are some strengths you cannot discover without pressure. Trials stretch you, test you, push you beyond what you thought you could handle. But every time you endure, every time you get back up, every time you push forward, when everything in you says quit, you are being refined. You are becoming stronger, wiser, tougher. The trial did not define you. It refined you. Trials refine your faith in God. When everything else is stripped away, you learn that He is enough. When people fail you, when money runs out, when strength is gone, you discover that God is still faithful. And in that moment, your faith is refined, not a shallow faith that only praises Him in the good times, but a deep faith that trusts Him in the valley. Trials birth that kind of faith, a faith that is unshakable, a faith that can stand the storm. Yes, trials are painful. Yes, they are uncomfortable. Yes, They make us cry. They make us question. They make us wrestle with doubt. But they are not sent to destroy us. They are shaping us into who we were always meant to be. They are chiseling away what does not belong. They are molding us for the future. Trials refine, not define. If you let a trial define you, you'll call yourself a failure because of a mistake. You'll call yourself unworthy because of rejection. You'll call yourself broken because of loss. But if you let a trial refine you, you'll say, I may have failed, but I learned. I may have been rejected, but I grew stronger. I may have been broken, but I was rebuilt better. The same trial that could have defined you can be the very trial that refines you. It all depends on how you see it. Think about the people who inspire us the most. They are not the ones who lived without trouble, but the ones who walked through fire and came out shining brighter. They are not the ones who never fell, but the ones who fell and got back up again. They did not allow their trials to define them. They allowed their trials to refine them. And that is why their lives carry influence, because refinement always produces resilience. There is a dangerous lie that says, if you go through hardship, it means you are weak or unworthy. But the truth is the opposite. The fact that you went through trials and survived them proves your strength. The fact that you were refined by the fire means you were chosen for more. The trial was not a curse. It was a classroom. Pain was not your identity. It was your process. So stop calling yourself by the names of your trials. Stop identifying yourself by the worst moments of your life. Stop saying, I am my mistake, I am my divorce, I am my failure, I am my pain. That is not who you are. That is what you went through. It was part of the refining, but it is not your defining. Who you are is greater than what you've been through. Who you are is stronger than what tried to break you. Who you are is a masterpiece in progress, refined but never destroyed. Trials refine your testimony. They give you a story that can inspire someone else. They give you wisdom that can guide another. They give you compassion that you could never have without suffering. Refined people know how to reach others because they have walked through the fire themselves. And in the end, your trial becomes the very thing that equips you to impact lives. Remember, gold that has never been tested cannot prove its value. Diamonds that have never faced pressure cannot shine. A life that has never faced trials cannot reveal true strength. You are not defined by what you went through. You are refined by it. And the refinement is producing a version of you that is stronger, wiser, purer, and more powerful than you have ever been before. Power is not something you stumble into by accident. Power is not something you inherit simply because of your position. Power is not the applause of people, the size of a platform, or the influence of a name. True power, the kind that cannot be shaken, cannot be bought, and cannot be imitated, comes from God. And when a person carries that kind of power, purpose begins to find them. That's why I say power attracts purpose. Many people spend their lives chasing purpose. They are constantly asking, why am I here? What is my calling? What am I supposed to do with my life? They search in careers, in relationships, in achievements, in material things, but they remain empty. They keep trying to manufacture purpose instead of realizing that when you are walking in divine power, purpose comes looking for you. Power attracts purpose. You don't have to force it, fake it, or fabricate it. You just have to walk in the authority and strength God has given you. Purpose will align itself with your life. Purpose is magnetic. It is drawn to power like iron to a magnet. You carry real power, the kind that flows from a life surrendered to God, the kind that is rooted in faith, the kind that is built on character. Opportunities begin to appear, doors begin to open, and assignments begin to seek you out. You don't have to beg for influence. You don't have to chase relevance. You don't have to compromise to be recognized. When you carry power, purpose will find you. A river doesn't chase the fish. The fish are drawn to the river. A light doesn't chase the moths. The moths are drawn to the light. In the same way, when you carry true power, you don't have to chase purpose. Purpose is drawn to you. The question is not, I find my purpose. The real question is, am I walking in the power that attracts purpose? Because when you carry God's power, your very presence becomes purposeful. But let's be clear, I'm not talking about worldly power. I'm not talking about manipulation, control. the ability to impress people. I'm talking about inner power. Power to endure when others give up. Power to believe when circumstances look impossible. Power to rise again after failure. Power to forgive when it would be easier to hold a grudge. Power to love in a world full of hate. Kind of power attracts purpose because it carries a fragrance the world cannot ignore. People sense it. Opportunities recognize it. Purpose is magnetized by it. You see, many people try to chase purpose without first developing power, and that is why they get frustrated. They want the fruit without the root. They want the outcome without the process. They want the recognition without the preparation. Purpose does not attach itself to weakness, confusion, or instability. Purpose is drawn to strength. Purpose is drawn to clarity. Purpose is drawn to resilience. When you are strengthened in power, you become a vessel fit for purpose. Don't misunderstand me. Power is not about perfection. Power is about authenticity. It is not about being flawless, but about being faithful. It is not about being without weakness, but about allowing God's strength to shine through your weakness. That is why power attracts purpose, because purpose needs vessels who are real, not just impressive. Purpose needs vessels who are committed, not just talented. Purpose needs vessels who can stand in the fire and still keep their faith. And when you carry that kind of power, purpose cannot resist you. Think about how many times in life you thought you had no direction, but when you endured a storm, when you overcame a battle, when you rose again from something that should have destroyed you, suddenly a new sense of purpose was born. That's because power always attracts purpose. The trial that built your power also unlocked your assignment. The tears you cried gave birth to the testimony that became your purpose. Pain you survived became the passion that fuels your calling. Power attracts purpose. This is why the enemy fights so hard to keep you weak, distracted, and insecure, because he knows that if you ever realize how much power you really carry, your purpose will become unstoppable. He knows that if you ever discover the strength of your voice, the weight of your faith, and the authority of your calling, purpose will begin to chase after you. Once purpose finds you, you are no longer easily shaken because you know you are living for something greater than yourself. Power attracts purpose because purpose needs power to accomplish its assignment. Purpose without power is just potential. It is an idea without execution, a dream without action. But when power and purpose connect, destinies are fulfilled, lives are changed, and legacies are born. That's why some people never walk in purpose. They are chasing it without cultivating power. But when you cultivate power through prayer, discipline, faith, and resilience, purpose cannot help but find you. Power attracts people who are connected to your destiny. The right relationships will be drawn to you when you carry real power. The right opportunities will be attracted to you when you walk in your true authority. You don't have to force doors open. They open on their own. You don't have to manipulate situations. God aligns them for you. Purpose recognizes power, responds to it. Power attracts clarity. When you walk in power, you stop living in confusion. You stop second-guessing every decision. You stop living in fear of missing out. Power gives you the strength to silence the noise and walk in direction. And when your steps are ordered, purpose reveals itself along the way. The more power you walk in, the clearer your purpose becomes. Power attracts legacy. Purpose is not just about today, it's about tomorrow. It's about generations yet unborn. When you live in power, your life begins to impact people you may never even meet. Your words, your choices, your actions ripple through time. Purpose is drawn to that kind of power because purpose is always bigger than one person. It requires someone strong enough to carry it, and that strength comes from power. So stop exhausting yourself chasing purpose. Stop trying to manufacture it, manipulate it, or control it. Instead, focus on cultivating power. Build your inner strength, develop your faith, strengthen your character, deepen your resilience. Because the more power you walk in, the more purpose will be attracted to you. You won't have to look for it. It will come knocking at your door. You won't have to beg for it. It will recognize you. You won't have to run after it. Purpose will run after you because power attracts purpose. Your purpose is already connected to your power. You don't need to search outside yourself for meaning. You don't need to compare your life to someone else's. You don't need to panic about missing your calling. As long as you walk in the power of who God created you to be, purpose will align itself with your steps. Your power will pull your purpose into position. Yes, power attracts purpose. And when power and purpose meet, you become unstoppable. When power and purpose align, you walk with authority. When power and purpose unite, your life carries influence beyond what you could imagine. So cultivate your power, stand in your strength, walk in your authority, and watch as purpose is drawn to you like iron to a magnet. Because true power will always attract divine purpose. Legacy is not built by accident. Legacy is not simply the result of talent, wealth, or fame. Legacy is the echo of a life lived in alignment with God. It is the impact that continues long after your voice is silenced, the fruit that grows long after you have planted the seed, the influence that carries into generations you will never meet. And hear me today, true legacy flows from divine alignment. Many people want to leave a legacy. They want to do it their way. They think legacy is about name recognition, about leaving behind monuments, money, or memories of success. But legacy is not just what people remember about you. It is what people carry because of it is not what is written on a gravestone, but what is written in hearts and lives. And the kind of legacy that endures does not flow from human effort alone. It flows from divine alignment. Divine alignment means walking in step with God's purpose, submitting your will to His, and living not for self, but for the kingdom. Alignment is not always glamorous. It often requires sacrifice, discipline, obedience, and faith. But when your life is aligned with God, everything you do begins to carry eternal weight. Your words become seeds. Your actions become examples. Your choices become pathways for others to follow. Out of that alignment flows legacy. Think about it. When a river flows freely, everything around it flourishes. Trees grow by its banks. Animals drink from its water. Communities are sustained by its current. But if the river is blocked, stagnant, or diverted from its course, life around it suffers. In the same way, when your life is aligned with God's flow, legacy begins to flourish naturally. It touches everyone around you, your family, your friends, your community, even those who come after you. Legacy is the river, and divine alignment is the source. Legacy is not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you release. You may accumulate houses, wealth, or recognition. If your life is misaligned, those things will not last. They will crumble, fade, and be forgotten. But when you are aligned with God, even the smallest act can become legacy. A prayer whispered in faith can impact a generation. A word of encouragement can shape a destiny. A single act of obedience can ripple through eternity. Legacy flows when you are in divine alignment. Some people are so busy chasing legacy that they lose alignment. They want to be remembered more than they want to be obedient. They want influence more than they want integrity. They want applause more than they want assignment. But legacy cannot be manufactured. It must be birthed. It can only be birthed when your life is aligned with the purposes of God. Because when you are aligned, legacy flows naturally. You don't have to force it. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to manipulate it. Alignment does the work for you. Look at the lives of those who left lasting impact. They were not perfect, but they were aligned. Their power came not from their ability, but from their obedience. They may not have been the most talented or the most recognized in their time. Their alignment with God allowed their lives to carry influence far beyond their years. Their alignment produced legacy, and that legacy still speaks today. Alignment is not always easy because it often requires surrender. It means laying down your own desires to pick up His will. It means choosing integrity when compromise looks easier. It means walking by faith when sight looks safer. But that very surrender is what produces legacy. Because legacy is not about building your kingdom. It is about advancing God's kingdom. Legacy flows when your story is no longer about you, but about Him. Legacy is not about leaving something behind. It's about sending something forward. It's about pouring into the next generation so that they don't have to start from scratch. It's about sowing seeds of faith, wisdom, strength that others can reap long after you are gone. And only when you are in alignment with God can you ensure that what you are sending forward is pure, lasting, and true. So many people live misaligned and then wonder why their influence doesn't last. They build platforms, but not purpose. They accumulate wealth, but not wisdom. They achieve success, but not significance. And when the applause fades, nothing remains. But when you are aligned with God, your legacy cannot be erased. It will live on in your children, in your community, in your spiritual sons and daughters, and every person whose life you touched while walking in obedience. Divine alignment ensures that your legacy is not temporary, but eternal. Because what is birthed in alignment with God cannot die with you. It continues to live, breathe, and multiply in others. Legacy becomes a chain reaction, ripple effect that reaches further than you could ever go on your own. This is why alignment matters. Because without alignment, legacy is fragile. With alignment, legacy is unstoppable. Without alignment, you may leave behind things, but they will fade. With alignment, you leave behind truth, faith, love, and strength, and those never die. Without alignment, your influence ends when your life ends. With alignment, your influence continues long after you are gone. Legacy flows from divine alignment because alignment connects you to eternal purpose. When you are connected to eternity, everything you do carries eternal weight. Even the hidden sacrifices, the quiet prayers, unseen acts of kindness, they all matter. They all build a legacy that is invisible now but undeniable later. Stop worrying so much about legacy and start focusing on alignment. Stop chasing what you will be remembered for and start chasing obedience. Stop striving to leave your mark and start striving to walk in His will. Because if you get alignment right, legacy will take care of itself. You don't have to ask, will my life matter? If you are aligned, it will. You don't have to ask, will anyone remember me? If you are aligned, they may forget your name, but they will never forget your impact. Because legacy is not about being remembered. It is about what continues because you lived. Truth is, every life leaves a legacy, good or bad. Every choice, every word, every action leaves a mark. The question is not whether you will leave a legacy, what kind of legacy you will leave. And the answer is determined by your alignment. When you are aligned with God, your legacy will always flow with truth, strength, and purpose. Legacy flows from divine alignment. It does not flow from ego, ambition, or striving. It flows from surrender, obedience, and faithfulness. And when you live aligned, your life becomes more than your own. It becomes a stream that waters generations, a fire that lights torches after you, a story that continues to be told long after you are gone.